There it is. The opening music to your weekly source for cult movie discussions.
Yeah.
We're your hosts, Bill and Chris, and you are listening to... I thought we were going to say it together.
Oh, I didn't want to step on it.
You're listening to Outside the Cinema. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Glad you could be here.
Yeah.
A couple reviews this
I
week.
am too.
Yeah.
I am too.
Yeah, no, it's a good time. It's a good time. Show. I'm telling you right now, the show's probably going to be short this week. The two films that we got, one of them, one of them is a very OTC fare, and the other film, spoiler alert, just utter dog shit. For a number of reasons too, not even just the quality of the film, just like people involved, like fucking dog shit. So this week we are covering the Ken Wall Nicole Eggert masterpiece, the Omega Syndrome. There's no the.
Hey, you know what? I think the people in this movie will just appreciate us talking about it, so we can add the if we accidentally do.
That's fair.
Because no one else has talked about this except, Omega Syndrome comes with this package. All right, we're Tubi. We'll play it.
Tubi will play it, exactly. Yeah, Omega Syndrome. And the other flick we are covering this week, we're diving headfirst back into the ever so murky waters of the found footage horror film. We were doing Last Girl, which is also available to watch on Tubi, unfortunately. Which film do you think it is that we really hate this week? I don't know if you can figure it out. Also,
It's Tubi. We hate Tubi.
Also, may I spoil it for the listeners that you can tell the story. Tell the story of the second film and how far you go into it.
Okay, so I wrote to you yesterday. Mm-hmm. Have you watched Last Girl yet? And I figured at this, I let it sit for a second. I'm like, you know what? Why bother having a whole conversation? I'll just tell him everything at once. I figured you might appreciate that. So my next one is, a woman is raped in between the opening credits. I'd like to skip it. Instead, we should cover The Glove. It's on Tubi. An ex-cop turned bounty hunter has to capture a giant man wearing body armor and steel-plated gloves.
Which we will be covering next week.
Good, because the opening theme song is either really awful or really badly good.
'Cause you know I'm the glove. Steel-plated man is coming at your face.
That's close.
I wish it had Ken Wall in it, though.
It might.
Yeah, so Last Girl, we'll get to it in depth because it'll be the second review this week. But yeah, Chris did not watch it, and don't think that I completely ignored when you were like, dude, I don't want to watch any more movies where women are just raped incoherently in it. Was not the not the intention, and I'll explain.
No, I didn't even think that. No,
well, because I did, because I started watching it and I was like, oh man.
No, I know there's a lot of stuff that you go on by the cover art or the title, just like I do. So I don't, unless you're like, watch this.
No, definitely
it's not going to happen.
Definitely not. Unless it's an Italian one. There's a little bit of flair for the theatrics here, my friend.
Yeah, but I do know what I'm getting into with these, and with this one, it's the only found footage movie so far that I won't give a shot. I just
that's fair.
It was too mean in the beginning.
Yeah, and it only and spoiler alert, it only gets meaner as it goes on. So
that's what I figured.
Yeah, and the thing was that I had already watched it.
Yes.
And so I was like, well, I've already watched it, so I think we need to talk about it because I got some things to say. And you were like, that's fine.
Yeah. You're like, fine. That works.
Things to say. But the other film this week, Omega Syndrome, is a 1987 direct-to-video action flick. Ken Wall, Nicole Eggert, exactly what you want from OTC.
Oh, it is absolutely a 4 PM USA movie on a Sunday.
It's OTC bread and butter.
Yeah.
Completely. So,
yeah.
Speaking of bread and butter, though, Patreon. If you're not a member, consider maybe signing up. $5 a month gets you access to the full show archive, plus you get the shows early and the exclusive content, including the top 10 pop albums episode that I recorded a couple of weeks back. It's there. Well, most of it's there.
That's right. That's right. Well, okay.
The Riverside software cut out. It stopped working, and we didn't realize it, and we didn't know how much we had lost. And we actually lost a couple. We lost a pick and a half, but that's okay.
Okay. So that's a good 20, 25 minutes
Probably,
on average, right?
Probably,
yeah.
But yeah, patreon.com/outside the cinema. All the show, all the money generated there goes right back into the show. And it will be really cool. And you can, we got some commentary episodes coming up real soon. That stuff's getting closer and closer to getting made. So, yeah. And the support, obviously, we do the show out of pocket. So everything that we generate there, we put right back into keeping the show on the air. Hosting for the show, the internet, all the stuff we need to keep it going, the equipment in the studio, everything. So patreon.com/outside the cinema. And obviously Scott and Joe will be stopping by later in the show with their segments for this week. Joe is working his way through, I think, what's the final the final Canadian Cube flick this week. And then we got to find him a copy of the Japanese one.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, there was a Japanese remake, I guess, last year. So I got to track that down.
Oh, last year. Okay.
Yeah. You got anything going on? Anything pertinent to the listeners?
Not really.
All right.
I don't think so. Do I?
I don't know.
No, I'm just like settling in at my job still because it's way different but the same. So I'm getting used to that. That's kind of what I'm doing.
That's a good thing, though.
And yeah, and I've played about 10 minutes of the new remake of Resident Evil 4. So hey,
all right.
10 minutes in 3 days.
I've been playing a lot of the new WWE 2K game that just came out. I've been digging into that. We've also been obsessed with NBA 2K23, the this year's basketball game. Him and I got very deep into the general manager mode on there and doing fantasy drafts and building franchises. And like now that he's at an age where he actually like understands that stuff, like
right,
infinitely more fun to do. Although he's still like he's the type of kid that like he'll build his team and his team's really good and they'll win a championship or something. And then he'll be like, all right, I'm going to trade up for the first pick in the draft. I'm like, you just won the championship. You obviously have the best team in the league. He's like, but yeah, I think I want the number 1 overall pick. I'm like, that's not how it works, man. And then he's like, I can't sign anybody. I'm like, yeah, there's a salary cap. That's the whole point. So he gets most of it.
Yeah.
But
oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so that's what's been going on here. So, all right, let's get into these reviews for tonight. Let's start with Omega Syndrome from 1987. This is available to watch on Tubi, and I think it's actually also on Plex. So there's a couple places there, but this is, as you said, 4:00 in the afternoon, USA, TNT, TBS movie of the afternoon fodder.
Yep. It definitely feels like it was edited, doesn't it? Like for TV. It
definitely felt like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
but
here's a trailer. It's got a great trailer. So, all right, let's play that.
Neo-Nazi. Terrorist organization. Ruthless. Merciless. And out of control. They call themselves Omega. But now they've started something with the wrong man.
I'm talking about my daughter here. You gotta help me, Philly. I want my daughter back.
Let the LAPD take care of
They
this.
took the only person in the world who cares about him.
Corbett's Jack P. Vietnamese Medal of Valor, silver.
I gotta know where you're going, Jack.
Why don't you ask Tudor?
I can't get anything out of him.
Maybe you don't know how to ask.
U.S. Army, 1969.
Where is she?
Now, he'll do everything he can
These babies on rock and roll, pal. Infantry, MOS rifle.
Well, you make Uzis look like muskets.
because his way is the only way
Tell you whatever you want to know.
to get his daughter back alive.
Vietnam, July 69.
He'll have to destroy Omega.
Am I your mother?
Say goodnight, Gracie. The Omega Syndrome. Starring Ken Wall. The thriller of the year.
Yeah, the Omega Syndrome, the thriller of the year. Oh, they said the. They
What
said
year
the.
was this?
87,
Oh, really?
baby. Oh yeah. Why did it feel like it? I mean, it had more of an early '90s feel. I felt.
Yeah. Also, the thriller of the year.
Oh yeah.
the year Fatal Attraction came
Guess
out.
so. So this film starring Ken Wall, who's probably best known from that CBS TV series Wise Guy.
Yep.
And then he's been in a bunch of movies now. Like he was in a couple things we've covered over the years. He was in The Taking of Beverly Hills. I forget a couple other ones, but he's definitely. I feel like he's maybe an actor that just did. I don't know what happened in his personal life or whatever, but like he was definitely like a guy that could have had a like pretty good like action movie career. I feel.
Yeah.
And he just didn't like, and I don't know
Yeah.
why, but
Yeah.
he had the look, he had the acting chops, had the hair.
He was absolutely fine for whatever role they wanted to put him in, as long as it was there was a plaid shirt and jeans at some point.
Right. Film was directed by Joseph Manduke, who passed away in 2020. He did some stuff. He did The Gumshoe Kid. He did Cornbread Earl and Me, which is a pretty good one.
Oh,
which we
yeah.
actually never covered on the show. We should actually go back and cover that.
I thought we did.
I don't think so. If we have, it's
Okay.
been so long that I don't remember.
I know we've talked about it. I can't remember.
Yeah, so he
at this
did
point.
a few films, but then he also did a ton of stuff in TV. Oh, he also directed that 1979 Spider-Man movie.
Oh, really? Oh.
Barnaby Jones, Knots Landing, Dallas, Hardcastle, McCormick, Falcon Crest, your favorite.
Oh, yeah. They didn't have a lot of falcons.
No, there was no Falcons. Plenty of crests though.
There were more hawks in Buck Rogers than there were falcons in Falcon Crest, which is weird.
Well, it's weird because there was no Falcons in Falcon Crest, and there was no Bucks in Buck Rogers.
That's true.
Right. Speaking of Bucks,
Son of a bitch.
Giannis Antetokounmpo, number one pick in most of the fantasy drafts, by the way. He plays for the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA.
Oh, no. Totally lost.
Probably the best
No.
basketball player on the planet right now.
What's his name again?
You'd have to Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Is he Greek?
Very.
Oh, okay.
They call him
Huh.
the Greek Freak.
Oh.
That's his nickname, coined by him. So I'm not being,
Oh.
cool. Or at least he went along with it. I can't maybe say it was coined by him.
He went along.
I don't know. Nike puts it on his shoes, so somebody said it was okay
Wow.
somewhere.
That's true. That's true.
Also starring a very young Nicole Eggert, pre Charles in Charge. She plays Ken Wall's daughter, George DeCenzo, Xander Berkeley, Bill Morey, bunch of recognizable faces in terms of character actors from this time period.
Mm-hmm.
This was definitely, what was this, Vestron Video? This was a Vestron Video release, I believe. No, New World.
Oh, I
New
think
World.
so, yeah.
I think,
Yeah, definitely New World.
so
yeah.
definitely guys that were, doing some stuff and some things.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of things in this one, not so much stuff.
Right. And also, again, I mean, we're going to talk a lot about baiting and switching tonight with films, and they did it with this one too. The VHS cover art says Omega Syndrome, says ruthless, merciless, out of control. They are Omega, a secret underground organization, and they must be stopped. Okay, all of that's right. Not gonna
Yeah,
argue with
that's
any
not
of that.
bad. That's not bad.
But the guy on the cover here
yeah.
has a leather jacket, matching leather gloves with studs, some sort of futuristic gun, and he's definitely
That's
wearing
right.
a black leather gimp hood. So I was like, oh, okay. And then remember, what was that? What was that other one we watched where the guy wore the gimp hood? When it was Zipper Face? Was that what it was?
That sounds really stupidly familiar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was like a serial killer, but he wore like a gimp mask. That's
Yeah.
what it looks like.
Yeah.
That guy does not appear in the film anywhere.
Oh, not at all.
Nope.
Not at all. Maybe in one of the original drafts
Maybe
of the movie.
It is very run of the mill neo-Nazi terrorist organization. Like there's no,
Yeah.
they're not doing anything weird. They hire the Irish guy from the IRA to build their bombs for them.
Fucking Cole Meany.
Like,
I love him.
yeah, he shows up in all kinds of stuff too, man. He's another one.
Yeah. It's always weird because I never really think of him in anything else. But then He really does show up in the weirdest places. Like this.
Like this, yeah. So
This is a weird one.
I will say up front here, before we dig into it too deep, you're not going to get anything in this movie that you haven't gotten somewhere else before. But that,
Right,
you know
right.
what? That isn't necessarily a bad thing with this movie either, or films of this ilk. Like, I feel late 80s, early 90s action that are going to be not having your major stars, your Chuck Norrises, your Schwarzeneggers, your Stallones, even your Van Dammes. Like, there's a certain expectation, I think, from those movies now. If you're a film fan, like, and you watch more than just like whatever, you actually search things out. Like, you kind of know what to expect from like a New World 1987 action film release that's fronted by.
Oh,
Ken
yeah.
Russell.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they couldn't get Craig Sheffer. So there you go.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But so the story is, this is very simple. Ken Wall plays Jack Corbett. He is a writer that's kind of down on his luck and not necessarily doing a great job. We learn that he was in Vietnam and he was a decorated soldier, won the Purple Heart. He's got his friend Phil, who was in Nam with him. We've got his daughter, Nicole Eggert, who we learn he lost custody of in a bitter custody dispute after his wife had passed away, and the grandparents actually got custody of the child.
I'll give the movie credit for doing something a little different there. That was a different
It was.
idea.
And it was actually good with the main character too, because he kind of knew that he had fucked up. He's like, I had too much to drink, something went wrong, and I pay for it. So we open the film with a couple walking up the street, and it's a interracial couple, black man, white woman, and they're just like carrying their groceries home. This car pulls up to them and says, "Hey, do you know where Spring Street is?" And the gentleman's super friendly. "Oh yeah, no problem. You go up 2 blocks and take a left." And they're like, "All right, thanks." So they continue walking, and then this car immediately bangs a Yui. Dude gets out with a machine gun or a shotgun. Gets out with a shotgun, and then the other guy in the car gets a shotgun, and they blow these 2 people away for we have no reasoning why. We have no idea why. They've just killed this couple for no reason.
Yeah. It's a city street. It's not like they're walking home through a neighborhood.
Right.
This is like a 4-lane through the middle of the city main street.
Right.
Yeah.
So we then learn that they're from a terrorist organization called Omega, and that they are this militant neo-Nazi organization that is very much about like cleansing the earth of all minorities.
Yeah.
It's very 1987.
Very boring too.
Yeah, very boring, but you know what?
Bang another fucking drum.
But putting your mindset into 1987, this was a little more out there than it is now. We've obviously seen this 1,000 times since then and done way better in many other films. But for the time period, okay, I'm buying in.
This is actually the more that I end up thinking about this, it's kind of like that Death Wish fantasy thing from the Nazi standpoint, right? Because in Death Wish, he's just like killing criminals or perceived criminals as the series goes on, I imagine. And in this, they're indiscriminately killing, because the man and the woman, they're older. They look like they
Like,
just
probably
went
in their
on
50s.
like an anniversary date or something like that, and so it's not, they're not just going after street level criminals, which I think makes them more dangerous.
Well, yeah, and the whole idea that they talk about them as, they're this very secret organization. They don't really know much about them, which brings us to the next point.
It's very Spectre.
Yeah. So we go to this the jail where they're moving a prisoner who's supposed to be supposed to be a former member of Omega, and he's going to testify against them. So they're moving him to another prison, and he's like, "Hey, listen, these guys are legit. Like, they're going to kill me. Like."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Don't worry about it." Famous last words from any police officer. "Don't worry about it. I'm 3 days from retirement. Nothing will happen."
I got a new partner. He's a little weird.
He seems a little out there, but I'm gonna roll with it. Oh, there's a bomb in the toilet? Of course.
Fine. Trunk full of cougar ants?
Sure.
Sure.
So they're going to transport
See, we kept
this
it with
guy.
racists.
Yeah, there we go. So they're going to transport this guy. And of course, Omega basically manages to stop them. They blow up the van, kill the cops, but they don't kill the guy that's going to be testifying against them. They just gravely injure him
Yes, with a rocket launcher.
with a rocket launcher. He was able to get out of the back of the van just in time so that he was burned very badly, but not killed. I'm just burned very badly. Oh, the pain.
And the van, it's not even like a county sheriff thing or anything like. And if he's the leader of a terrorist organization, now I know this is before 9/11, like 2 guys in a fucking painter's van
I don't know, man.
driving down a desert road, like, come on.
I think on the side it had a little thing that said like property of like Pasadena police or something.
Yeah, they wrote it on gaffer tape. Nobody can see that.
So,
But like if you're gonna transfer somebody, if you're gonna transfer Michael Myers and you have to do it on Halloween, fucking use a helicopter and suspend him from underneath it. They did it with King Kong. It'll work here.
so they don't really address this again for a little while, and this movie actually does a couple things that are pretty good in terms of like their storytelling. We then go back to Ken Wall, who's now had a one-night stand with a chick, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta go. I gotta pick up my daughter." And she's like, "All right, cool. Can we hang out again sometime?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. Let yourself out." Because I would just leave random people in my apartment.
I don't understand how people can do that. That really freaks me
I
out.
always just assume that everything I'll come home and everything that I own will be gone. Like,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So he goes over and picks up his daughter Jessie and gets into it a little bit verbally with the grandfather. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm late," and he's like, "Yeah, well, maybe if you cared more about your daughter than you did about drinking, you would have been here on time." And he's like,
And
"Cool."
also,
he's like, "Cool,
this
thanks, Carl."
dude's got a pot of coffee sitting on a washcloth on a table outside with 2 teacups and no one to be there with him. I don't know. What is it? And this guy's telling other people how to live their lives. Come on. And this dude's car, oh my God. That was the next scene, his blue car.
Oh, the little like Chevy.
Yeah.
I can't think of what
it's like
those
a
were called.
Pinto.
But like everybody had that car back in the day. That was the cheap car back in the
Yeah.
day. Remember, back
was.
in the 80s
Yeah.
and the early 90s, everyone had one of those.
It was the Accord and the Corolla of the time.
Yeah, man, I can't remember what that car was called. It was definitely a Chevy, but I don't remember what it was called. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so he picks his daughter up. They go out and they have a nice day.
I think it is. I'm looking at it right now. I think it is a Pinto. 4-door.
No, I don't think it was a
Pinto.
Pinto. It was a version of it that looked like a Pinto.
Yeah, there were some that look. Yeah, okay.
It's just like when the
keep
Ford
looking.
Focus came out. There was like 7 other cars that looked just like the Ford Focus.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, doesn't matter. They go off on their day together. Nicole Eggert, Ken Wall, they're having a good time. They go and get some food, but we notice they're being followed by the psychos that killed the couple the previous night or in the previous scene, and we don't know why. So they're doing their thing, and Ken Wall's like, "Hey, let's shoot into this store." He's gonna buy himself a bottle of booze. That's fine, whatever, no judgment. And he tells the daughter, he's like, "Oh, hey, go grab some snacks and grab some candy and stuff." And she's like, "All right." So they go in there, and then the two dudes from Omega come in with rifles and basically are gonna shake. We think they're just robbing the place or shaking it down, but they're actually there to kidnap this girl.
Yeah.
Ken Wall fights back.
Was that the
unsuccessfully.
plan from the beginning, or did they they were out and they're like, we're gonna get that girl? I can't remember what the point
no,
of
they were
getting
tailing
her
them.
was.
They were well,
yeah, but
we'll get to
why
that.
him?
We'll get to
I
that.
can't remember.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
I'm just
Like I
looking at
said-
all the old. I was looking at all the old products on the shelves.
Right, fair. But this is exactly why this movie actually did something that was smart, because they kidnapped this girl, and we don't know why. We have no idea why. And we're like, was it an in the moment thing where they decided to grab this girl? Was it a pre-planned thing? Because we knew that they were being followed, so there was a reason for it, but we don't know anything else. And as in all action movies, Ken Wall goes to the police. They're useless. They can't help.
Oh, they're worse than useless. This Detective Milner is a fucking aggressive asshole.
Yeah, your boy Milner.
Oh my God, he does turn around though.
Takes a while,
Yeah.
but he does turn around.
And I want to say that this movie is what inspired the Tom Jane character in Arrested Development.
Very well.
I just want my daughter back.
Very well could be true. And that's what Ken Wallace says. He's like, hey, listen. He's like, what do you mean you can't do anything? They're like, oh, these guys, we don't know anything about them. So
Yeah.
So this is, and what was one of my favorite parts of the movie. They, of course, question him because they're like, hey, we know you got a history of like problems and, you know, you lost custody. So obviously we're looking at you because that's what good police would do.
Right.
So he's like, hey, listen. He's like, I want my daughter back. I don't have her. You guys are crazy to think that I do. So Milner says to the other cop, he's like, hey, listen, find out what you can about this guy. Like, what's going on with this dude? Find out what's going on with him. And the other police officer does and comes back, and he was just Sergeant Carlisle, I think was his name, or Sergeant Kyle or something like that. He comes back, and he's, so what did you find out? And he's like, oh, well, he's a freelance writer. And he wrote some stuff, and he's like, huge pussy. Writers are pussies.
Yeah.
And then
he was going off with all the slurs.
He's like, this guy's a wuss. He's like, writers are a biggest bunch of, he won't do anything. And he's like, oh, well, he also served in NAM. He was probably a draft dodger. He's like, actually, no, he served in the 541st Infantry. He was probably a mechanic just working on the cars, never got his hands dirty. Actually, he was a staff sergeant. And he helped like save 4 of those guys in his platoon. Yeah. And he's like, we probably almost got him killed. And he's like, he received the Purple Heart.
He got 2 Purple Hearts and a Silver Star.
I love that he gets to the end of it and he just kind of goes, all right, so maybe he's got some gumption.
Yeah.
Going.
And there was something with whatever regiment he was talking about. There was some recognition there that we don't have now with the difference in time.
Yeah, it was
but there
basically
was something impressive.
It was basically like this guy was like, "Fuck this guy. He sucks. He's a wuss. He's probably behind the whole thing." Then
dude,
like,
that's General Patton.
They're like, this guy, most legit dude on the planet. Don't fuck with him. Like he's like, okay. But what I do love about this movie, and this might be getting a little bit of a head, but like Ken Wall, he's presented as like Joe Every Guy though. This is not he's not a Rambo, he's not a Schwarzenegger, he's not a Stallone. Like he's Joe Every Guy who just happens to have been in the military. Like he isn't like jumping a car from like a building to another building or like
right.
Or like
He's more
the entire like Al Qaeda with like one gun and a knife.
Oh jeez, yeah. Yeah, he's First Blood, not Rambo 3.
Right, yeah. Not even First Blood.
Oh, no, I just meant like just a person that wants to be left alone.
Right. Just do his
like
thing.
I'm just a normal guy.
See his daughter do his thing.
Yeah. Yeah, but if I have to use the special skills that I don't want to use anymore, you better get the fuck out of my way.
Right, yeah. So he goes and finds his buddy Phil and he's like, "Hey, listen, my daughter's been taken and the cops are no help. What can you do to help me?" And he starts to piece together what's going on. He figures out about the Omega syndrome or the Omega group, and starts doing digging. And another thing that was great was he kept going to the police and being like, "Hey, listen, I've got all this information."
Yeah.
And they're like, we can't do anything with it. Yeah. And he's like, well, why the fuck not?
Right. That's a legitimate question.
And they're like, red tape, bureaucracy. We don't have any proof, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, well, I'll find you your proof. And he keeps going until he gets to the point where he's like, you know what? Forget you. Me and Philadelphia Phil are going to take care of this ourselves.
Yeah. Philadelphia Phil.
So needless to say, we see the Omega terrorists and they're holding the daughter, and we then realize that there is a connection because her grandfather, we learn, is a doctor who works at a hospital, fills in at a hospital, who happens to be housing the guy that was supposed to testify against them who didn't die. So there's the connection, and like they in a very smart and a well-written way make it all work. Yeah. Well, we need if you want to see your granddaughter alive again, you need to go in and make sure this guy doesn't come out of the hospital and he doesn't say anything. So it comes together really quite well. And in a smart way, and smarter than I would have expected, because I was sitting there like being like, are they going to tell us why she was kidnapped? And then they did, and I was like, okay, good for you, movie, good for you.
Yeah. I did like the fact that like they had no intention of doing anything nasty to this girl in the meantime,
Right.
which was appreciated because like these are cartoonish characters that we have here, and that kind of thing I think would have just brought a huge cloud over the whole thing. It would have been like, I was having fun with this. Fuck you.
No, they do a good job of it. The Omega, like obviously, there as we said, there's the Irish guy that worked for the IRA that builds their bombs for them. We have the guy that's like the leader of the group, and then we have the guy that's the loose cannon.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of nameless, faceless members that are just there to get shot at the end. It actually works, quite well for what they're doing. So Ken Wall and Phil, they basically, work their way through. They start to figure things out, and then they basically figure out everything they need to figure out, and then they're going to go get his daughter back. And, it's a very simple story, but it's actually presented in a pretty clear and concise way. I was surprised how well it kind of came together. And it's got enough action in it. I thought it was, overall, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, that's true. I was a little like, oh, okay, now we're pushing the believability of this when the cop shows up and they have their Uzis and submachine guns, and he's like, have fun storming the castle. It just that was where you knew his character had just kind of come around. I imagine in his head it's something like, well, if he goes and dies, then I don't have to do that paperwork, so that's good. And then if all the other guys die, then they're already gone, and we don't have to waste time on trials for any of that stuff. But that's not what he presented. Also, we got to point out the number 2. I think he's the number 2, but he's the tweaker guy.
Yeah, the loose cannon.
Who's played by Xander Berkeley. Who you see his face and you're like, I know that face.
Yep, for sure.
And I know you would know him, I think, primarily from Candyman.
Yep.
Maybe something else.
I would remember him. Stuff.
Yeah, oh, definitely. But I remember him as Todd in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And I didn't look him up until now because I wanted to wait and see. He was on Moonlighting and he was in Sid and Nancy, and then he made this movie.
All right.
He was on Falcon Crest as well.
Of course he was. That's how he got the job in this movie.
I know. Yeah. So what are we doing? Are we rating this now?
I'm sorry. There was one other thing I wanted to say about it.
Okay.
But now, of course, I don't remember. So I'll let you start grading.
All right.
Chris, do you recommend was your grade for Omega Syndrome?
Normally I wouldn't recommend this type of like prefab jigsaw puzzle kind of movie where it's just same pattern spit out over and over again. But there's enough I don't know what you would call them because they're not actually character actors. You called them earlier. That works the best. There's enough of them in here that like it keeps everything like oh, this guy's I know that guy. Hey, there's the dude from Buckaroo Banzai that wants to nuke the Russians. He's the leader of the sort of. Is he the leader of the?
Yeah, I guess he'd be the leader.
Yeah. So I mean, this movie is actually kind of like it gives your favorite, secondary characters like a good decent amount of screen time, and there's nothing really offensive in here except a bunch of swastikas and the word Nazi and some racials. So there's a lot of stuff in here that you could find objectionable, but in the 80s this was a rated G movie. So
it's actually PG-13.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. I'm going to recommend it, but I think it's definitely a mid-budget film. Is that a thing? A mid-budget film?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's not low budget.
No, it looks like it's shot on film. It's lit very well. I can hear everything. It's done perfectly. It's just it's missing that little bit of spice.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Ken Wall, if he's capable of more than what he did in this film. But I feel like maybe but then again, if he did act a little more, like if he yelled once or twice more, I don't know. It just feels lesser. So I'm gonna give it a C+. But I liked it. It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
So
You got to give it a grade, though.
yeah, I said C+.
Oh, you did? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. No, I just talk and
Sorry, I was getting ahead of
Words.
myself and already thinking about the nasty things I'm going to say about the next movie. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to recommend this. This is definitely much better than a lot of like the direct-to-video action garbage that you get from this time period. It's got a well-told story. All of the plot points make sense. There's a lot of familiar faces. I really like Ken Wall, but I agree with you. Sometimes he's a little flat and could be a little more animated, which is probably why he didn't necessarily make more ripples in the kind of like as like an action hero. But he looks the part. Like he's like it's, and Nicole Eggert, for her small part, she's young in this, but she always does a great job in whatever she's in, even if it's like garbage like that Blown Away movie with Corey Haim. Like she still does her damnedest in there. So I think this is not something that somebody's going to be like. I mean, we always say that every movie has somebody that thinks that movie is their favorite movie, but like this is not the type of movie that you necessarily need to like make sure that you see. But like if you feel like watching kind of like a cheaper action flick, and you have, I mean, everyone has Tubi's free, Plex is free, like fire it up, man, and you're gonna be like, all right, yeah, that was cool. Like I don't think it's the type of thing that anybody like we would never do like a commentary for this or anything like that, because it's just very much it is what it is, but it does it well.
Yeah, it didn't strike me as having a bunch of moments that would do well for comedy, and there's not much trivia we could dig up on this.
Right, exactly. So I'm going to give it a B-, which I think is a very fair grade for a film that's better than it really doesn't have, better than any business, and it's better than it has any business being. But again, it's not something that's like going to ever crack into your top 10 because there's nothing really ridiculous in it that you're going to be like super memorable. But at the same time, like I think Philly Phil, he makes he actually makes a couple of good one-liners, and then there's a couple points where Ken Wall makes a joke and he goes, "Hey, I told you if I'm going to take part of this, I'm the one that makes the jokes." Which I thought was cool. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Definitely worth the time if you check it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
It's not wasting space on Tubi servers yet.
Not yet. But you know what is wasting space on Tubi servers?
Yeah, I do. I inadvertently set that up.
Yep. Little film from 2013 called Last Girl. I am not going to play you a trailer. There is one, and I'm not going to play it. Last Girl, 2013, directed by James P. Mercurio, written by Solomon Gray, starring a bunch of people you've never heard of that you won't care about. This movie...
I just like it. I can tell, even if I'm looking down, I can tell you're taking a second to be like, I have 40 things in my head I want to say.
And I don't know where to start.
What's first? Yeah. Yeah.
So when people say found footage movies are terrible, this film is the perfect example of that. It's too dark. I can't see anything. It doesn't make sense why they have the camera the way they do. The audio is you can't hear the audio. There's music added to it when there shouldn't be music added to it. But what this film is just really an example of is, and this is going to sound weird the way I'm going to put it, but it's the perfect example of everything that was wrong with misogynistic male-made horror films from like around 2010 to like 2015. It is exploitative of the women in it, and they are used many times to just be there, to either be raped, to be murdered, to be like shown in, tortured in a sexual way, that's presented in a way that is supposed to make you be turned on by it.
Oh, really?
And it's not redeeming in any way, shape, or form. It is the perfect example of toxic masculinity filmmaking by some fucking jaghole. And I don't know anything about this guy, James P. Mercurio, and he hasn't made anything since this, and that should say something.
He made stuff before this, right?
Yes, but he hasn't made anything after it.
Interesting.
And it's a perfect example of just that, man, I'm gonna make this movie, and we're gonna put these chicks in it, and we're gonna get them naked, and we're gonna do stuff to them.
That was the problem from the 90s to now.
But it was really prevalent because this comes in the wake of Hostel and those torture porn movies that were porn gore or torture porn or whatever you want to call it. And this film is trying to do that, but without any of the skill or filmmaking chops or planning or anything. And this movie came out so bad that they then fucking put a spin on it with the fucking synopsis, because the synopsis that's on IMDb is not what the movie is. I will read you the synopsis here. Kidnapped and tortured, elite call girl number 12 must overcome her attackers and fight through a post-industrial hell to avoid the brutal filming of her own death. Last Girl builds a shattering conclusion you won't soon forget. Previously available only in the Detroit Underground, Renegade Video brings you the extreme vision of reality filmmaker George Kripe to a mainstream audience for the first time. So they're trying to present it like it's a real movie. It's not.
No, of course not. I mean, Jesus Christ, how long after Blair Witch is this? We're all savvy now.
14 years after Blair Witch.
Yeah, and 50 since Cannibal Holocaust, so settle down with my movie's real bullshit.
Right.
I'm looking at you, Antrim.
So the synopsis that they have out there for this movie is the synopsis of what would be the finished film that they're making and being presented as the real film. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And that's just not what the movie is. It's more so about this guy who comes home. His wife's been kidnapped. There's these guys there, and they give him a camera, and they're like, hey, we've got your wife. You're going to film everything, and you're going to do exactly what we tell you to do. So he goes to wherever he's supposed to go, and they tell him some other place to go. And then he's supposed to kidnap this girl that's a prostitute that he apparently had an affair with and bring her to this other place.
It's not having an affair with a prostitute. That's having sex with a prostitute.
Okay, sure.
Just clarifying there. Fair. You know where James P. Mercurio was born? Beverly, Massachusetts.
Of course he was.
And his mini bio is full of itself.
Fair. Oh, yeah. Dudes that make movies like this are always super full of themselves.
He met
Max the dude that made Eden Lake was like that too. He was like, I'm an auteur. I'm gonna.
Let me read this, right? Because it's gonna be better than the movie. Jim grew up in, Newcastle, so 4 words in and you fucked up.
And he wrote it himself, so.
Yes. A small town north of Pittsburgh, no comma, in a blue-collar Italian family, which might explain why his favorite film is Bicycle Thieves.
Of course it is.
Isn't it The Bicycle Thief?
I don't know. Yeah, sure.
He met Max von Sydow in Ann Arbor and regrets not asking him for a cameo in his dream project, a sequel to 3 Days of the Condor starring Ed Norton. So he has terrible judgment on top of terrible taste. There's more, but I don't give a shit except for this part. He and creative screenwriting founder Eric Bauer, nothing against Eric Bauer, I don't know him, teamed up on an unproduced web series based on the work of H.P. Lovecraft.
Well, Eric Bauer was a producer on this, so you can hate him.
Everybody goes to Lovecraft, don't they?
Oh, with.
And why is it always like these motherfuckers, the people that have the smallest imagination and vision, trying to bring a person's work that is pure visual?
This movie has zero visual style, by the way.
If you can't do the stuff required by the genre, don't fucking do it. And don't make it boring. You know this thing would have been fucking boring.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I like that.
I'm done. I'm good.
I like that in his bio, he talked about 2 things that he didn't make. The sequel to 3 Days of the Condor, which he never made, and his H.P. Lovecraft series that never got made. Right?
Yeah.
It didn't get made.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Yeah.
This movie is the worst of the worst. I'm guessing with the way it plays itself out that the reason why there's music in throughout the film is that they got the tape and put the movie out. But it's just such like it's so mean-spirited. And the thing too is it's like at the end of the film, the girl that's girl 12 played by Katie Keene, who God bless you for attempting to try to make something of this movie. And I'm hoping to God that you got paid for it because they put you through hell in this film. She ends up killing herself at the end of the movie. So you don't even get like a good comeuppance, which is one of the reasons why I picked this. Reading that synopsis, I was like, oh, cool. This is going to be like a girl that's like a sex worker that's going to fight back and get revenge on all the people that have wronged her, which is like the exact opposite of like all of the like, the shitty rape films and shit that we have to watch where these people are taken advantage of constantly.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, finally. So I picked it thinking this girl's going to get her comeuppance on these people and turn it around based on the synopsis, which is not at all what happens. She ends up having to kill herself at the end to get away.
So it's as bright and hopeful as Megan is missing.
Darker.
You haven't seen that yet, have you?
No, but this is darker. In tone,
Oh, yeah,
and
no,
also,
I'm-
and also
yeah.
in the presentation of the film. The film itself is actually darker. You can't see anything.
Yeah,
They
that's
also do this thing
unforgivable.
in this where you probably got a taste of it when you watch the beginning of it. All of the people that are like involved in the making of this movie, the snuff movie, have this like weird filter over their faces.
Oh, is that what that was?
It goes on through the entire movie.
Oh, I thought it was shitty rendering.
No. It's like a filter that they put over their faces to hide their identity, which is stupid. Have them wear ski masks.
Also, why tape it if you're worried about getting caught?
And the other thing, and another thing,
Yes.
as a guy now that has done his fair share amount of video editing in 2022 and 2020 or 2023, I know that putting like a mask on a movie with like to cover the faces like that is a fucking time consuming process.
Yeah.
Like you have to track everything, you have to place everything. Like and back in 2012, you're probably going frame by frame on that stuff. You probably probably don't even have a good tracking software at that point.
Right.
You're wasting your time.
At most, you're getting keyframes on that and have to double check everything.
You're wasting your time. Put these dudes in masks. Ski masks.
Yeah,
what,
that's a
$1.99?
lot of so much post-production work that's useless.
The amount of time that they put into that is probably more time than they put into actually shooting the film, or writing the story, or like any of that stuff. Complete fucking waste. Complete fucking waste. This movie is mean-spirited. It's angry. It looks bad. It's written poorly, and it doesn't offer anything.
A+.
No. No. Hang on. So Chris gets an incomplete on this assignment. But
Still sounds like an F to me, and I would not recommend it.
No, you wouldn't even grade this. This would be one of the ones that you would refuse to grade.
Well, no,
and
if somebody's raped, that's an F, and I'm out.
For the first time, I too will not give this film a grade.
Oh,
I will, and I've never done that. I always am the
That's
one
true.
that is like, I will still give it an F.
Yeah.
Or a D- or something. I will not grade this movie. This movie goes up there with Eden Lake and those other really like nasty, pointless, mean-spirited movies that are just made by some fucking asshole fucking male filmmaker that just wants to fucking put tits on film and fucking carve up girls, and we're gonna have the nasty. We're gonna put some fucking sick gore in there, and it's gonna be so fun. And hey, I can get down with it. I might not be the gorehound I used to be, but I completely understand. And even shit like Guinea Pig or August Underground, like there's an air of point that they're trying to make with some of that stuff. However hard it is to figure it out, like this has got none of that. There's no like reasoning for anything. And then on top of it, your gore sucks. It's not even good. Or not even like passable. It's just bad. I'll tell you. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the girl, we're gonna put her in leather pants and like a shiny gold lame top so people know that she's a hooker.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause that's what hookers do, right? They dress with, did she have a sign around her neck that said $50?
No, she had one around her waist though, and it was a jangly belt.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
And then there was also scenes in this where she was barefoot, and then there'll be a scene a little bit later, and then she had her boots on.
Oh, okay, good.
So
good.
like
I'm glad
obviously
she got her
while
boots.
running through the dilapidated apartment building or warehouse or whatever it is, because it's never really explained.
Of course.
And also that motherfucking guy. Show me where my wife is. Where's my wife? Tell me that she's okay. Show me my wife. Where's my wife?
Who's this?
This was the husband that was the guy that was the main character of the movie until like halfway through it when they kill him off.
Oh, so they didn't have a main character then, really?
They did. I guess it was this girl or it was the guy. I don't know. But so
Okay.
he's like supposed to be looking for his wife, but he's going to sell this girl out to these guys to get his wife back. So he's not even a likable character. Because there's a point where he makes the realization and he saves her or whatever. And then again, fucking in the most male fucking toxic way, he sacrifices himself for her. I'm not going to get out of here, but you need to. So I'm going to go run interference. And they kill him. We think. We don't actually see it because they wasted their blood budget on the other murders. But then she ends up having to kill herself at the end of the movie anyway. So it's like the sacrifice is pointless.
Oh, it's like in War of the Worlds when Tom Cruise has to pick between his daughter and his son, and then the son's alive at the end of the movie.
Yep.
Fuck you, movie.
Yeah.
His choice, all of everything that drove him to protect his only living child. Fuck
So
you.
bad. It's
That's how I
so
would. Yeah,
bad.
yeah. I'm still mad about how dumb they were with that.
Yeah, I won't grade this. This is the fucking bottom of the barrel, worst of the worst.
So if neither of us grade it, then is it technically out of lists and we won't talk about it again?
I can't say that I won't talk about it again, only because of how angry it made me.
That's fair.
But I don't think I would include it in my end of year worst list
Okay.
just because it's so fucking bad. And I hope this guy's proud of himself. Like, I feel like they had to put a spin on it at the end after it was done, so that
Yeah.
like the synopsis sounded more interesting than the movie actually was. Because I don't know how you could watch this and be like, "Yeah, I'm proud of this." And listen, I know as a guy that's now a filmmaker himself, I know not everyone's gonna like the movies I make, and I know not everyone's gonna be into it. And that's fine. And I'm sure somebody out there watched Survival of the Film Freaks and was like, this is fucking terrible. It's the worst documentary I've ever seen.
Not
And that's
true.
fine.
That's absolutely not true. I have seen worse.
I mean, yeah,
Absolutely.
So have I. So have I.
They
So
say
you know what I mean, though?
Yeah, but they say that we're our own worst critics. Not everybody.
No,
Not everybody has that wait a minute. Let me double check this.
Well, the thing is, man, like, I know a lot of filmmakers. I can think off the top of my head of like at least a half dozen filmmakers whose stuff is, no offense, not good.
I've seen stuff. I've been to, where they play movies before. What are those places called?
And I'm not trying to hate on anyone. And like I said, I'm sure there's people out there that hate my stuff too. But like, it's sometimes it's really bizarre to me how people will think when they finish something and they're okay with putting it out
Yeah.
and being like, yeah, this is good. And I'm willing to bet this guy actually watched this afterwards and was like, maybe I get a day job.
Shit. Yeah.
Maybe I get a day job and I don't do this anymore.
It does look like he's a script assistant or doctor or not doctor or something on set. He was bragging in his bio.
Of course he was.
Hey, you know what? If I had a job in Hollywood, I'd probably do that too. But I mean, I also wouldn't put out content like that. So
No, and I've been asked to do a couple of different things, and I've kind of looked into it and looked at some of the other filmmaker stuff, and I've turned it down because I'm like, sorry.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. You got to protect yourself above all else. You can't be doing favors for everybody.
I've had a couple other projects now that I wish I turned down. It is what it is, though.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for Last Girl. We're not going to talk about it again for a while, hopefully. All right.
Weird though that it would follow effects,
Yeah.
but actually that's the algorithm at work, isn't it?
No, I had actually had this saved in my queue.
Oh wow,
For
okay.
quite a while when we were going through and watching a lot of really bad, or not all bad, but like mostly bad found footage flicks. I had added a bunch that were like, oh, this will be 10 years next year.
Okay.
We can cover it or whatever.
Yep,
There's
yep.
a few more, and we've watched some bad ones now. This I think is probably the worst. Worse than that one. What was the one where the kids were staying in the house? And then they got like lost in the woods, and then there was like a
Was it the thing with the mirror? The piece of mirror stuck to the kid's shoe in the second movie was all footage from the first movie?
No.
All right, I don't know. There's so much shit.
It doesn't matter. Speaking of shit, Joe's here with the third cube flick.
Well, hello, Bill. Hello, Chris. And hello, OTC Nation. It's your boy Joe here, and this week Bill took me to a nondescript dystopian past, present, or future because he made me watch Cube Zero. I might as well fill you in on my process today. Oh, I'm sorry, we're in Canada. I might as well fill you in on my process today. After the shitfuck that was Cube, Hypercube, the natural tendency would be to go into this one with preconceived notions that I'm going to burst a blood vessel with rage because there's no way this will be good, right?
Right.
Or at the very least, I'd go into it with a sense of caution and or lowered expectations. Knowing that, I'm going to do my best to treat this as its own movie and judge accordingly. But maybe I'm kidding myself because I just Googled my ass off looking for straight-to-video sequels that are good or as good as the original or about 10 other ways of phrasing it, and the pickings were about as slim as the Golden Corral at closing time.
Gross.
More sparse than a conservative's concern for anyone other than themselves. Harder to find than a good Uwe Boll film.
Oh, don't even
Who
look.
knows? I mean, maybe Cube Zero will be a hidden treasure, having been buried under the rubble of Hypercube's disaster. I literally just remembered that my favorite of the witchcraft films was Part 7, and I don't know if that says anything at all. I don't know. I'm just trying to have a good attitude about this, and I don't know. I'm a bit shaky at it right now. I'm still holding out hope that the Zero part indicates that this is like the very first Cube and everything is all old-timey clockwork traps. And for fuck's sake, can someone please wear a bowler hat? Just let me just go ahead and rip this Band-Aid off right quick. We are in a cabin in the woods scenario here. Okay. Spoiler alert, I fucking love Cabin in the Woods.
Yep.
The obligatory opening scene of a person in the cube who gets 86'd by the system is cool. Dude goes through a few rooms, and they do some really cool effects. In the red room, the focus is very soft and dreamy, and the room looks very hot. The blue room is like in super sharp focus and looks very cold. And then when he decides to go another way, the lighting is normal, and like the focus is normal. So like we get this like 3 rapid succession rooms that all have different looks and lightings and camera styles, and it gives a sense of separation and difference to the rooms, and I kind of hope they continue that because was actually a really nice touch. Anyway, the dude gets hosed with, quote, water, unquote, and because he's obviously been in there for a while, he begins licking it off of himself before going full-on body melt, and mercifully, we're back to practical effects. It was gross. After that, we see two operators or whatever, monitors, operators, technicians, casually discussing how the dude did in the cube, and like it's just their fucking job, and they're just like wage slaves, and they don't care what's going on. So, you know, no steampunk cube here, but we are in an ambiguous time that could be next year or 20 years from now, or fuck, right now. We also see that people are being kidnapped by soldiers who have like the door hatch symbol tattooed on their foreheads. And like when the two operators get their food pills, one of them reminds the other that they are obligated to pray to God before eating. And they say the Christian prayer. They've got some nice touches in here. And honestly, let's face it. If any religion ever took complete control and was just going to go full on this dystopian future, you don't agree with us, so we're going to put you in this cube. I'm sorry, name me one other religion than Christianity that would be this vulgar and callous about the lives of others.
True.
Islam.
Can't do it? Didn't think so. Okay, obviously it's the other two big religions, but you get my It's 30 minutes in before we see people in the cube banding together and trying impotently to survive something that wasn't designed to be survived. We only see them in small chunks and mainly focus on the two operators in their like dank basement workspace.
Dang.
They get into a lot of unfortunately real fears, and someone read both 1984 and The Handmaid's Tale before writing this. It's pretty obvious. Our Winston Smith here, things are a bit on the nose in this film. I'm surprised they didn't name him either Winston or Smith, gets in the cube to save the main lady cube prisoner because he discovers that she's in there only for being a political dissident. A bit on the nose, but someone makes it to the end, and the operators are forced to ask them if they believe in God before letting them go. Dude says no, and, you know, he gets charred crispy. Which begs the question our Winston asks, what happens if you say yes? And the other guy says nobody ever has, because the guy asks a question I'm guessing everybody else does, what kind of God would do this to somebody? The third act kicks it into gear, and remember that button the roguish imaginary guy said not to hit in the beginning? Well, go ahead and push it, because that's nitrous, bitch. The other operator basically unplugs the cube and plugs it back in an IT crowd kind of move, disabling all the traps and allowing Winston to save the girl by heading right for a spoken of but unconfirmed exit directly out of the cube and into the world. The gear kicking in is because they have exactly 10 minutes until the reset, like flash fries everything in the cube in what they call a fresh start. Instead of telling you the ending, I have a question. Whenever there's an underwater scene and people have to swim to escape something, do you ever, rewind it to the beginning and hold your breath to see if you'd make it too?
No.
Oh, I don't rewind. I just start holding
Chris?
my breath. Yeah. I do.
Yeah. Okay. See, I hope I gave you enough time to answer there. Here's the thing. I'm a smoker, so let's be real. If I made it this far through the cube, at this point, this is where I would be fucked like Cody Vore. Here's the thing. The good. A whole lot, actually. It's really well acted. It's well shot. Good set design. And all of that was done on what was obviously a very shoestring budget. To me, this is right up there with the first Cube. It's a really good movie. I just banged my elbow against my coffee table and it hurt real bad. Pardon. While that movie answered nothing, this movie serves up all the information on a platter, and both movies are actually kind of served well by it. Like, it made sense to do that in this one. It's really good. The bad. I mean, this might just be me. You know damn well that guys like Joel Osteen, Ted Cruz, Jim Jordan, they watch a movie like this, and after jerking off, they wonder why the good guys were presented as bad guys.
The cube
damn well if
operators.
Ted Cruz thought he could get away with this, he would absolutely do this.
He'd lose in that thing.
The bad. The bad is that we live in a reality too fucking close to this reality. Pass fail, Cube Zero gets a super big pass. So watch 1, watch 3, skip the fuck out of 2. Now, I'll be back next week with question mark? I'm trying desperately to find the 2021 Japanese remake of this film, but the only links I've been able to find for it so far are, as the kids say, sus. So I'm not 100% sure what I'll be back with next week, but until then, be good, everyone.
We're still working on trying to find a copy of that too, so we'll let you know. Cool. I've actually never watched that third Cube flick, so it sounds like it's definitely worth going back and checking out, though.
It sounds familiar. I might have seen it, but it would have been like through Netflix with the disc. So that long ago.
All right. Speaking of long ago, Scott. Hey, do you like the show? Hell, do you not like the show?
Oh, am I supposed to answer that?
No.
I will.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. With Reverend Scott.
Transformer robots have come and gone in our time.
I believe it. I believe
It's like, Jesus Christ.
Hey there, Bill and Chris. This is Reverend Scott. And luckily for you, my voice is finally back inside your ears.
He isn't creepy except for when he's trying to be creepy, and it doesn't come off creepy. It comes off like he's joking.
Okay, I've had about enough of you calling me not creepy. I worked nearly 30 hours in the last 2 days alone. It's hard enough making this segment without added adversity. We can agree on that much, can't we?
He can complain about that even though he's famous for it. That's fine. If it's tough, it's tough.
It's true. It is, and it is tough.
Much better. And speaking of complaining, I've made another trip to the movie theater to see a new film, and I have a lot to complain about. But you have to wait to hear about that. Because first we're going to talk about a little movie I like to call The Divine Enforcer. How about you start by telling me about the main characters and how stupid this movie is?
We know that Daniel is this vigilante priest who's out there doling out vengeance. And we know that Otis is this weird serial killer that has a lust for blood, but he's not a vampire. It's crazy.
This is so stupid.
Let's focus first on Otis. I don't quite get it. He's not a vampire?
He is a serial killer with a vampiric lust for blood.
Okay, but how does he get that blood?
Well, I'm glad you asked, as I'm going to tell you. By picking up prostitutes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah,
In
yeah,
1992, they were prostitutes. In modern day, by picking up sex workers. And then taking a syringe, something in it, heroin or some sort of drug. We're never really told. Holding down said adult sex worker, injecting
with
their
one arm.
With one arm. Yep.
Yeah.
Injecting them, but before injecting them, taking a large amount of the blood out of their arm and then putting it back in. Then removes said needle from their arm and then sucks on the wound on their arm.
To be fair, that's how I've always drained blood myself, but unlike that dude, I get willing volunteers.
This was 2 rapes, almost. 2 sexual assaults, like the first 2 scenes.
None of it was concluded, fortunately, for these ladies.
They
were saved
but still,
by the grace of God.
Still, well, I mean, Derek. Whatever.
His name's Daniel.
I'm going to call him Derek. I don't care.
That's fine.
I mean, you can say you don't care, Bill, but you were the one clutching your pearls during the review.
Another female murdered, drained of her blood. What is this world coming to?
I guess I'd be more outraged if I wasn't so starstruck by this film. Jan Michael Vincent, the infamous Robert Z'Dar, Don Stroud, Chips Guy.
And then you got Judy Landers.
Why?
Because she would do it? I mean,
That's fair.
But were your grades for this masterpiece fair? I don't know about that. You didn't even seem quite sure what you were watching.
I cannot figure out if this movie is supposed to be for or against religion.
Just stop.
I know, I'm too good.
Just
too good.
Stop. You're going too deep.
So I think the Divine Enforcer has redeemed itself for me, and it gets a fair grade of a C+. And the review gets a B+. But can the movie Effects redeem itself?
Wasn't a fan.
Hold on, Chris. Give me a second. I need to remember what this is about.
Fuck this. I really didn't like it.
Yes, we get it. Just back to the plot, though. Wasn't this some film about a film that might have been a fake film, but maybe it was a snuff film, but we don't know? I was a bit confused.
Now, I've never read the book, but I feel like there's just some important things that maybe you're missing. Because
it's possible. It's possible.
It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Well, at least being based on a book, they could easily flesh out the characters, right?
It's like this movie skipped over all of the development part of the characters, which, as anyone listening would know, is really detrimental to you giving a shit about anything going on.
Bill, are you even paying attention? Do you have any opinions about Effects?
It's so slow, and why is the dog licking the wall?
Insightful.
That's a lie.
So did this pile of shit have any redeeming qualities at all?
That guy wears a top hat and sunglasses at one point, so I guess that's worth something, right?
It is. So I give Effects an A, and I give the review a C+.
He's a piece of shit.
Moving on to what I've been watching. I was looking through that list of new movies last week and saw the sequel to Shazam was coming out. And I thought,
okay, yeah, I'm on board for that.
So I got tickets to go Saturday to Shazam Fury of the Gods at your boy AMC IMAX. Seeing as though it was my daughter's birthday coming up, I thought I'd surprise her with it. And since it was her birthday, she had ultimate veto rights and decided she wanted to get her hair done instead. She was like,
I just don't want to do that.
So we didn't end up going to see Shazam.
What? Really?
So that was a bust. But fear not, on Sunday, my brother-in-law asked if I wanted to go see 65, the new Adam Driver dinosaur flick. And I like Jurassic Park, so I agreed. We arrived at the theater this time, and I got in the concession line, and I ordered my popcorn. As you do.
That's true.
That's when I noticed there was a bit of light smoke in the air. Right as he's about to take my bucket to fill it up with that precious, buttery goodness, the fire alarm goes off.
Motherfucker.
Which at that point, the manager quickly ushers everyone out of the building into the cold, cold parking lot with my painfully empty popcorn bucket in my very non-buttery hand.
Yeah, no, I don't recommend this at all.
Oh, no, this
The
sounds
fire
horrible.
department eventually shows up. We wait for at least 30 minutes before finding the manager outside. Someone had burned a chicken tender. I missed my fucking movie and, more importantly, my bucket of sweet, buttery popcorn over a fucking overcooked chicken tendy.
Bottom of the barrel trash all around.
I considered waiting around for them to clear the smoke, but things were looking grim. I really wanted my popcorn, but who knows how long it would take.
Okay, all right, I'm on board with this. But the issue is that it takes so long to get there. It's like, do I still care?
Ultimately, I just said fuck it and I left, with 2 free passes in my non-buttery hands. So what's the moral to this story? Well, don't order fucking chicken tenders at the movie theater for one.
Yeah.
Get some fucking popcorn like a real American. And then I wouldn't have to be sitting here having wasted an afternoon and driving time and now experiencing the extreme popcorn loss that I'm now currently facing.
It's like, yeah, fuck me for complaining about it, but you know what? A lot of fucking work. It is a lot of fucking work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm done with my segment. You can wake up now, Bill.
Did I miss anything?
Nah, I don't think so.
All right, cool.
Fine, I'll just end it there. But until next time, you don't miss anything. Peace and love, guys. Outside the cinema.
One
Yeah.
guy goes too far, the other doesn't go far enough and just lands somewhere in the middle. Anyone that knows our show and knows our history with our show knows our history with Reverend Scott. And we're not we're huge fans of his work, not necessarily fans of the man.
Nope. Nope.
Oh, well, there we have it. We've come to the end of yet another episode. And look at that. We still got an hour and 15 minutes out of it.
That's not bad.
That's not bad at all. So, hey, Facebook, we have a group. If you want to post over there, cool. OTC Bill on Instagram and Cthulhu on Instagram. Although you haven't really posted anything recently, have you?
No, I've kind of hit this rut. I'm still drawing like a monster all the time, but I'm having some issues with my brain and posting things. So
that's fair.
I'll get there.
It's there for when he does post it. So
yeah.
Just follow him now, guys.
Thank you.
Go to the Patreon, patreon.com/outsidethecinema. $5 a month gets you show access to the show archives. $10 a month gets you pretty much whatever you want. $1 gets you access to the feed. You can pay up front for a year and save yourself 15%. That's all we got this week, guys. Mm-hmm. We'll be back again next week, apparently with the glove and something else. Have a good week, everyone.